Okay, so how's it going, guys? This is Ryo Murata, photographer based in Tokyo. So after using various types of what you call non-disposable cameras, in the past I made a video on the Ilford Sprite 35, also the Kodak Ektar H35, and also, the Kodak M35. In my previous video, when I talked about my collection, I basically sold those cameras, and after that, with that money that I made, I basically purchased the Reto 35, or aka the Reto Ultra Slim film camera. And this is basically exactly the same as what I just said. It is a non-disposable camera where you can basically swap out the film stocks and you don't have to throw away the camera like a disposable camera. And unfortunate to say, I actually tried to research about this company, but I couldn't find that much information. But on their website, they only have 2 cameras listed. And you guys probably know they do have the Reto 3D, which I guess the trend disappeared somehow, where there's like 3 lenses, takes 3 shots of various angles, and I guess doing some kind of post-process within a smartphone app, you can basically get a GIF type of image, which the trend happened, but it kind of, died, unfortunately. And also this Reto Ultra Slim 35, which I recently picked out on, and this is a really unique camera in my opinion, because one is similar to what you call a non-disposable camera. It is a fixed lens and it is like a point and shoot, so the settings are already in there, so you just press the shutter and you just get that or grab that shot. And this camera in particular, what's interesting about this camera is that it uses a 22mm ultra wide lens, and typically a non-disposable camera such as the Ilford Sprite, Kodak M35, and also Yashica typically use a 30 to a 35mm focal length type of fixed lens, plastic lens. And this one, because it uses 22mm, it is on the wider side, meaning that you can actually grab a much larger scene or landscape, or if you're just like shooting with your friends and you don't have that much space, this is actually a much better option available. Okay, so this time around, I actually sort of like shot this Reto Ultra Wide and Slim with the Gold 200 at Meguro Tein. And this is actually going to be really hard to explain, but Meguro Tein is actually located near Ikejiri Ohashi station. And this station in particular is basically right beside the Interstate Highway, if I'm right. And it's a really busy area. There's not much to do, unfortunately. However, within this sort of like right beside the Interstate Highway, there is this Tein, which is like a public Japanese garden actually, and it's sort of like situated in a sort of like a concrete tower actually, which also is a sort of like a passageway in between a residential tower mansion and also a public sort of like building actually. So it's mostly meant for the residents living around this area, and also the people who go to this public sort of like building to take fresh air outside in this area, because this area in particular, there's not many sort of like parks to like play around or just chill and stuff. So yeah, this was an area that I actually wanted to shoot around, and because this park itself is like really confined and small and compact, I thought this camera would suit that demand. Okay, so shooting with this camera, there's a couple things I need to point out. This is, like I said, an ultra wide angle lens of 22mm, which means that the closer you get to your subject and take that shot, your subject will look distorted. But in order to prevent that from happening, you have to take a little bit of space in between your subject and yourself for that what I call subject to look, I guess, plain in my eyes. But because it is wide and because this uses a plastic, non sort of like distorted lens, your final image will have some kind of warping effect, distortion going on. So you have to sort of like edit it in post to get the line straight. And also something I noticed about shooting with this camera is that if you shoot this at direct sunlight, you will get this circular like halation type of flaring going on, which I did not like, unfortunately. And this might be due to the fact that it uses a wide angle lens, and because it's plastic and because there's no what you call those expensive glass such as spherical elements, fluorine coatings and stuff like that to prevent that from happening. There's going to be a lot of flares going on in your photos when you shoot with this camera. However, if you think about the position of the sun, let's say you move the orientation of where the sun is like shooting at your subject, like 45-degree angles or maybe sideways, you will get a more sharper image with more contrast. And this actually might go a little bit off topic, but this might be the reason why that Yashica and I guess Ilford Sprite 35 and also Kodak M35 uses a 30 to 35mm focal length type of lens, is that it's easier to sort of like manage those flares and also those ghostings and also those distortions, because the longer the focal length, it's easier to like fix within the production of the camera, and the wider it gets, it's actually harder to sort of like manage that. So I guess that's might be the reason why the majority of these like non-disposable camera uses like a 30mm, but yeah, this one uses a 22. So other things I noticed with shooting with this Reto 35 is obviously this is like going to be really important for some people, is that typically when you shoot with a 35, let's say a standard SLR like a Nikon or a Canon or a Pentax, you insert the film on the left side and you pull the film to the right side and you just stick it into the what you call the sprocket holes or the reel, and it rolls onto the right side, and when you're done it rolls back into the film canister on the left. The Reto 35 in particular, you have to insert the film on the right side and you have to pull the film to the left side, so it's like the complete opposite. And what I'm trying to say is that the final outcome of the film negatives that you receive in mail or maybe from a post-processing lab is that typically on a film negative, you have like indexation of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the first frame, that's the second frame, that's the third frame, that's the fourth frame, to give you the information that this is in chronological order. However, because you're like shooting on the other end, what's happening here is that when you get your film negatives back, all your photos will be reversed on the other side, like 180 degrees, like flipped actually. And this will bother a lot of people, including me, when you're starting to like shoot with this camera, and if you accumulate a lot of what I call film negatives packets, which stock up, and we start putting it in folders, because all your images is going to be reversed. And for managing purposes, this is going to be really hectic in the long run. So I kind of diss that area of this camera, and I wish they kind of, instead of putting on the right side where you put your film, I wish they made it on the left side. I don't know why they did that, but from a photographer viewpoint, this is a little bit chaotic in my opinion, and something that I wanted to mention on my channel in this video. And another thing that I wanted to also mention about another negative is that when you close it and when you try to open it, the back panel, actually it's like, because this like slit is so thin, my fingers, although it's like really small, I'm having trouble actually opening it. and this is like really hard and a little bit stressful, and I have to do it like 3-4 times before I can access the film inside the camera. So yeah, that's actually my sort of like overview and my shooting experience with this Reto 35. And because the size is like really good, I think I am going to be keeping this, and because I already sold all my sort of like non-disposable cameras, if my friend needs one, I can basically lend them this and not think too much about it, because it is made out of plastic. It can get dinged, and they can throw it anywhere if they want, but not chuck it somewhere. But yeah, that's basically sort of like my video on covering the Reto 35, and I thought it would be meaningful for the public because you guys been waiting for some kind of a non-disposable type of camera. So yeah, here you have it. So yeah, if you have any questions regarding this camera, or if you have any inquiries, like, I'm happy to reply. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative, and yeah, we will see you next time. Peace out.